Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening up in the stars above. I knew that was going to happen. Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. I was listening to a video just before I came on this morning, and I forgot to mute it when I was done. So there we have little details. The devil's in the details. So hopefully everybody is doing well this morning. And I am sitting here wondering, like, what am I going to talk about today? Because there really isn't a whole lot going on. We have a couple of minor transits to talk about today. We have the 12 devoting in our Pleiadian-Earth energy today that we can chat about. The moon in Taurus is making some transits or some connections or aspects to planets. In particular, the sun, right? Today we've reached the crisis of consciousness where the moon is in a square to the sun. So the moon today in Taurus squaring the sun in Leo. And what does that bring up for all of us? So there's a bit of a crisis air in the mix today. And as well, the need to be able to adjust our plans, our goals, and to maybe let go of things that we thought we might want to do and move on in a new direction. We'll see about how that plays out. And then today, the change for the sun and the earth in human design, the sun has come to the gate 4, which is on the ajna and is a gate that talks about the mental pressure to do things or the mental component of our lives. And then as well, the gate 49, far, far away down in the emotional center, that speaks to revolution and big changes. So I want to read those stories in our Rosie book, right? Our Rosie Aronson's Wisdom Keeper's Inner Guidebook, 64 Faces of Awakening, which is actually a deck of oracle cards, right? So it comes with an entire deck. Oops, let's do it straight up. A deck of oracle cards, and it has the 64 faces in it, and you can do readings for yourself based on what card comes up and what is the wisdom in that card. But today we're going to take a look at the gate 49 and the gate 4. And I think we'll do them both at the same time today because I have the time and the space. And that way we can really understand the week from the first day of the week, which is today. And let's see, how long does that stay in there? So from the 11th through the 16th, and then we will shift again on the 17th. And the 17th week, the week from the 17th through the 22nd will be a very interesting and powerful week for us. And I think we can start to prepare for that now because that particular week goes to the heart of the Leo the Lion and the energy of desire and what is it that we want and saying yes to the right things and being available and willing and totally committed to something that is correct for us. So that focus is next week. But I think we can start now as we see some of the transits that are lining up here that are already provoking us to move in that direction. And we'll take a look at what that means for us today. In the meantime, let's say good morning to everybody that is popping in. Good morning, Kimberly and J-Lo and Jennifer, Amy Energy. It's great to see you. J-Lo says, hello, Astro Fam. Rueda, good to see you this morning. Sally Bowen, hello. And Loanne and Augustina and Mimi, hello there. I hope you had a fabulous birthday over the weekend. Augustina says, hello, good morning, everybody. Deborah Johnson, good morning. Natasha, hello to you. Great to see everybody out there this morning. So yesterday was such a weird day, right? It was a weird day. I was emotional. I was not really into doing anything. I just couldn't seem to focus myself out of a paper bag. And Tom sent me some stupid joke and it just made me laugh hysterically, broke the spell. And Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel as well sent me the funniest series of memes. And I'm thinking everybody must have realized that I was, on an edge yesterday. So they were sending me funny things and it broke this spell of how I was feeling. but I wanted all of you to understand that, you know, I'm human too. I go through all the same things that you do, maybe sometimes a little before you do, and maybe sometimes a little after you do, but I end up in those same pity potties. I end up on those same anger shelves, and I sometimes just want to cave in and crush, you know, everything up and throw it all away, start over. Thus was one of the things that was going on with me yesterday as I cut ties with Oneness Talk Radio and decided that that was not a good move on my part. And even though they're lovely people and I really liked them, it just seemed like too many things were stacking up to force me to reconsider what I had done in joining up with them. I still feel like they have, you know, wonderful people on their network and so forth, but it just wasn't for me. And luckily, the universe came to my aid. You know, just too many things when you start, you know, it should go with the flow. And I'm not saying that all things in life should be easy and not have any, you know, challenges. But when you have challenges one after the other and they're just stupid coming out of nowhere, you start to go, is the universe trying to tell me something? And so I did the course correction thing. I did the course correction. I re-evaluated what it was that I was after in going into a platform like that. And what I was after is not in alignment with my life purpose. So I decided to break that tie. And it was easy. Once I made the decision, it was so easy. And I didn't expect to get any money back, and they've refunded my money. To me, that's amazing too. So anyway, that is no longer the case. I am not going to be on anybody's platform at this point in time. I will appear on people's shows. I do that with Angel Heart Radio once a month. I do that with Anea and Carol Ann for a series that we're working on about the human design solar plexus mutation that is occurring, but I'm not going to be on another platform anymore. I've decided it's just the Janet show. And apparently that's what my chart wants me to know as well. So I'm going to just stay there and do that and be happy and in acceptance of wherever I am and whatever I am doing here for you all. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the moon and Taurus. Yesterday we really ran down what Taurus was all about. And so I don't need to go there. But today, because the sun is in that crisis of consciousness position with the moon, I thought it might be interesting to talk about what is happening here. And isn't it interesting? So yesterday I'm facing a dilemma. And my dilemma was, do I continue doing this broadcast with with that platform, or do I make a change? So all in all, the search for solutions to the dilemma was what I was after. I mean, the dilemma was, well, it felt worse than it was. But all of us may be in some respects facing a dilemma right now in accordance with the goals that you set out with the new moon. And one of my goals with the new moon was about becoming more prominently well known in the broadcasting world, doing astrology and human design. I believed that moving on to Oneness Talk Radio was going to be part of that ability to make the bigger splash. But guess what? As I started really looking at my own astrology chart, go figure that, my sun is hidden. It is hidden in the 12th house. And I'm here to serve, I'm here to teach, and I'm here to bring information to the people who really reach out back to me. And I need to be okay with that. Rather than going big, I just need to hone in on the people that I have that come to me through you all referring people, or people who just happen to turn on YouTube and see there's this live broadcast going on. So the search for solutions to the dilemmas that you have may come in ways that you don't expect, right? That there's a sort of crisis around the energy, and it's about consciousness. So it's not like the first square after the new moon, which brings us to the obstacles or the stumbling blocks that show up in the physical world. This is more about a shift that needs to occur on the inner planes. So being the person that I am, and I know not everybody has the ability to do this, but I always go in and I start looking at, all of the things that this is trying to show me from the inner world. How did I create this? Why did I create this? How does this serve me? What does this remind me of? Is this part of an old pattern? Is this something new? And I go through that process with myself for literally everything that causes me any kind of pain or suffering. And when we are able to do that, right, then we can keep our own counsel and we can really see where it is the dilemma is leading me, or leading you in this case, me yesterday, but maybe you guys here for the next couple of days, especially today as we're in that crisis moment. And so instead of, crumpling up and going away, or throwing out everything, right? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Take a look at what is it that the universe is showing you about what is embedded in that dilemma that you can take away and that you can work on within yourself or in your own world. Now, then that also requires that Uranus week, or this is a week of Uranus, right? With Uranus yesterday with Mercury, my ruling planet, now that I think about it, and Uranus turning retrograde later in the week, Mars activating this week. So we have a lot of things like coming up and coming to the surface, kind of squaring us off into a direction that's really meant for us. And in that case, what do the recent revelations mean to you? If you've had those Uranian wake-up moments, the wake-up calls, the awakening, right? That's what Uranus does. And it may point you in a direction where you have become addicted to a specific way of being. That's going to be a word we talk about in a little bit later. What does the revelation mean to you, and what are you willing to do about that revelation? And you may specifically have not received a revelation yet. You may have, but trust me when I say there's more coming in the days and the weeks ahead that may reveal to you something where you are out of alignment with your heart's desire or with your purpose in being here, and or a place where you can adjust your energies and move into living your life purpose more fully. And that makes this a time right now where we're sitting between the sun and the moon, or the sun and moon in a square, to really tie up loose ends, to really, be preparing for what comes next in the weeks ahead as we prepare for the new moon, right? We're in the closing phase now. We've already passed the full moon, and we are winding down this particular lunar cycle. And what are we preparing then for the next one? So we have to clear out what isn't working, what's been revealed to us perhaps as not right or not for us. And then we are maybe feeling like we're sort of at a crossroads. Maybe we're, for me, it's a conundrum. I always think of that word conundrum, because in human design, we use the word conundrum quite frequently. There are inborn conundrums in your astrology chart or in your human design chart. It's written in the stars, if you will, that there were going to be things that you would struggle through, and you might struggle mightily at times, and at other times you might not struggle very much at all. At times things were going to flow easily. At times things were going to flow so easily that you thought you were on a magic carpet. That's the reason I keep my magic carpet right up there. And other times it was going to be more like pulling teeth. And so revelation, what has been revealed to you? What are the aha moments that you've had over this past lunation? And what is it preparing you for? What comes next, right? Those are always the good things. Now, if you want to talk about this in terms of your astrology chart, I'm going to give you a little bit of what is that called? A rubric maybe that you can look at in your own chart that you can. So if you want to get your own personal chart out now, and let's look at that. In fact, let me see if I can share my screen, and I'll use the chart of the day as a person. We'll pretend, right? Pretending that this is an astrology chart of a person. Now, if we distill down to three key three key pieces of the chart that you can look at right now in this moment that are going to help you decide if you're struggling to find out what your destiny is, or if you're struggling to know what your life purpose is. And trust me when I say all of you are, because I know I struggle with it periodically as well. Otherwise I wouldn't have gone looking for this information, by the way. You can break this down to three key pieces: the position, the sun and the sign that the sun is in, the moon and the sign that the moon is in. So if this chart were a person, we have the sun in Leo and we have the moon in Taurus. And then we would also look at the rising sign. And the rising sign here is, interesting, 29 degrees, 57 minutes, like 3 darn minutes from being in 1 Virgo or 0 Virgo, but it's 29:57 Leo. So let's look at the moon first, or sun first. And by the way, you're not only looking at the sign, let's look at the house that they're in as well, because that's going to tell you where the action is taking place in your life. It's the where of it all. So we have a sun in Leo, and that tells you right away that this person is here to be self-expressive, to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized, to be called out into the force of individuality, kind of being differentiated out of the Aquarian group mind or group dynamic into the more individualized dynamic. But there's a problem, right? There's a problem with this person's life purpose. And the problem is one that will create a dilemma that they will have to find the solution for throughout their life. And that is that they have a hidden sun. The sun is in the 12th house, which is the house of the hidden. It is the house of suffering in some cases. It is a house of the, sorry, hold on here. I left my phone on. It is a house where there are unconscious patterns that tend to come up to the surface that are ruling the show, right? They're ruling the show. And the 12th house is really a house of service. When I think about the 12th house, I think about the way that you move through letting go of being invisible, of not knowing exactly what it is you're here to do, is to follow the threads that pop up for you and that show you ways where you can help others. So this person's Leo sun in the 12th house may be showing them where they can help others to become more expressive, where they can help others to pop out of the crowd and become more known, more visible. And it makes me think of someone who's maybe an advocate, or someone who is an acting coach, or someone who is a teacher of the arts, perhaps. So a life purpose here with Leo is about bringing out that creative energy and distinguishing yourself from others, or in this case, because it's a 12th house sun, perhaps helping others to distinguish themselves, maybe a coach or a counselor here. Now, the story isn't complete, though, because this is our outer world persona. We have to look at what the inner world persona is doing, and that is the moon in Taurus. And the moon in Taurus here is very strong. It's almost maybe stronger than the sun is, because it's at the midheaven, right? The midheaven, it's angular. And the sun here is almost angular too, because it's just, what, 10 degrees, 11 degrees away from the rising. And remember, the rising sign is the sign that was on the horizon at the moment that of birth. So this person, if as a chart, this birthed at 7:05 a.m. my time. So at 7:05 a.m., the sun, or the rising sign, was at 29:57 of Leo. The sun was just 11 degrees ahead of that. It had risen a little while before that. And the moon is literally overhead and at the midheaven. So it gives the moon a little bit more power. And the moon here is in practical, sensual, prosperity oriented, let's say, Taurus. And at the midheaven, which is like 3 degrees away, it makes the moon probably the most powerful. So the moon being our emotional self, our needs, our inner world. The inner world here is really looking for security, for a steady, practical place to express their work. And this is a sign that really loves to be able to be steady, or grounded grounded is the word I'm looking for, and practical. So while this is probably not necessarily a recipe for woo-woo type of coaching or the woo-woo type of counseling, it could be one that really takes into concern someone's deep emotional wounds or someone's deep emotional fears about being out, being seen. So this person's life purpose, if this were a person, would be about helping people individuate, and by the way, individuating his or herself, and at the same time dealing with the emotions of wanting to stay hidden instead of coming out into the world. And the rising sign here also gives us an indication then of what this person's life purpose would be like. The 29th degree is going to show you there's a struggle going on. It's a karmic degree. And the struggle may be between sometimes being visible and sometimes not. When you're not visible, you're wanting to be visible. And when you're visible, then you want to be away. So this person might have issues with shyness, at sometimes being confident and out there, and then at other times being more shy and retiring. The rest of the characters on this field here, including now the force of destiny, we could look at, because that is a line of, or an axis, a line that creates a sort of movement toward a specific destiny or goal. And the rest of the characters here, even Mercury, Venus, Uranus, Eris, Mars, all of these other guys are characters that support the sun, the moon, and the rising, and including even, I'm going to throw it out there, the North Node, to be able to get their life purpose done. So there's a lot of frequencies out there that are not necessary. They're playing the supportive role, right? So they're not the main characters. So think about a play or a movie, and there's a whole bunch of characters in a movie or in a play. Some of them are more important to the storyline, right? In this case, it's our sun, ascendant, and moon that are the most important characters in the storyline. Next would come the axis of destiny. Everything else is sort of superfluous, and not that they're minor characters, let's say, and they are in support of or generating trials or tribulations or growth opportunities to the life purpose. So I hope that makes sense to people. I'm going to head over now. And oh, by the way, if we looked at the line of destiny here, we would see it's in Gemini, and Gemini in the 11th, late 10th house, early 11th house. So this one would show a person who has a career in communication in some ways. So this is someone who likely would be dealing maybe with the group a bit, maybe doing group teaching or group coaching or group artistic endeavors, but also the 10th house being a focus of the career, maybe teaching through maybe a writer, maybe there's a lot of 9th house energy in this chart. So maybe writing is another good way to look at that. The moon technically on the 9th house side of things. So maybe this person is meant to teach and be seen as and be confident as a writer, which is also something that allows them to stay in behind the scenes a bit. So there you have that. You could do that with your own chart. All you need to know is, what does the house mean that it's in, and what is my basic definition of the sun, the moon, and the and there's more we could go into, like, do the sun, moon, and ascendant work well together? Do they create challenges to one another? I mean, for instance, that sun and that moon are in a square. So there is a crisis of consciousness that's always going to sort of imbue this person's life. They're always going to be having to plumb the depths of their psyche, perhaps, and decide, what's holding them back, and work with whatever those energies are that pop up in their field that hold them back from living out their life purpose. So that's, a part, if this was a real person, that real person was born with that sun moon square, it will always play a part, that aspect, in whether they're successful in living out their life purpose or not. And I would say we are all successful in living out our life purpose. You can even identify the levels at which maybe that person's life purpose, maybe it's the first time ever that they're trying to live out a Leo life purpose. And that might mean they'll have, a little bit of success, but maybe have a lot of challenges in that arena. We don't always know exactly where we are on that evolutionary scale and how good we will be at being able to accommodate that life purpose. That's where the minor players come in. Do they support or do they hinder that life purpose? So, okay. Anyway, I don't even know what got me onto that subject this morning, but that's what I was looking at here. So gosh, lots of comments. I got to go backwards here. Debbie Tibbetts, good morning. And thank you very much. Loving light, Joy, Ann, she's saying hello, good morning. I love it. Amy, the best show around, hands down. You guys are my biggest fans. I love you. Sally, that feels so right. Take it from me. 5 water planets and solar plexus authority. Feel you are choosing correctly. I am. I know I am. I just, it's not unbelievable that someone who's teaching you about human design and teaching you about astrology would fail miserably in her own world and then have to pick herself back up and go, maybe I went in the wrong direction, because I'm learning along with all of you. That's the beauty of living astrology, right? I'm living it out too. And we're all a part of this together. We can all learn. We can all see that it's okay, right? That we're going to make mistakes. Even when your human design, when your astrology, you're still going to make mistakes. Isn't all going to always flow as easily as you think or wish it would. J-Lo, that makes sense to me. Had someone come towards me in an emotional way. J-Lo, 11/11, which would have been my 8/11, and today's 8/11. Interesting. August 11th. Deborah Johnson woke to the clock saying 11/11. Love it. Joy Ann says, I had a positive financial surprise and a playful revelation. I love that. Adrienne, I love this story you've opened with. So perfectly illustrates the cosmic energy. And thank you for being willing to share this. Sometimes I think it's all TMI. Sometimes I just get out there and I start sharing. And yet I always feel like if you can see that in someone else, you can resonate with it within your own self. And if we all stumble and fall and pick ourselves back up, then we've learned something, right? Then we can move forward. Otherwise, we are maybe doomed to keep repeating the same mistakes, right? That psychosis thing going on. Sally, hello, Amanda and Ursula. Good morning. Such a conundrum with my son in house 12 and in the sign of Leo too. Wow. See, there you have it, Ursula, right? Where you need to pull yourself out of the group. You have to stand out and be seen. But that invisibility cloak that you're wearing, which I'm wearing as well, sometimes causes, pain and suffering. And either you go back into the turtle shell or you pop back out and then something happens and you pop back in. It's just a part of our life. Just keep serving. That's all I keep saying to myself. Just keep serving, just keep showing up and just keep doing what you do. And that it makes me happy to do that. And hopefully it makes a difference for other people as well. Sally Bowen, I'm sorry, not Brown. My narcissistic mom had Sun in Leo in the 12th, as well as Virgo rising. Also Moon in Leo in the 12th. Woo, 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 woo. And there is sort of a dilemma that occurs with Leo. And that is on one side of the equation, they're arrogant and they're pompous and they want to be seen. They're narcissistic. But on the other hand, they can lack confidence. They can be shrinking violets. And they are really low in self-esteem, right? They're very hesitant to be seen. So you got to take both of those ends and bring them into the middle where they can be confident, right? Sometimes that can lead them to a superiority or an inferiority complex, right? It is a sign that has the full brightness of the sun, right? The sun being the most powerful character in our field here of planets, right? In our solar system, but hidden in the 12th house can make for frustration. And especially for a Leo who, if you're wanting to be seen and you're not getting that fulfilled, then you can likely go to an extreme to be seen, right? To become recognized and calling attention to yourself. Or on the other hand, that part of you that wants to hide stays hidden. And then that goes inward and starts to destroy your confidence from the inside. So we have to be able to come out and play. Play. It's all about the play. Rueda, I know I have to be adaptable, but for some reason I do so well with routine. I was challenged today to change my routine for work and I was angry. Okay, now, one step, not the whole staircase. Right. Rueda, I'm trying to remember your chart and it's just escaping me at the moment. You know, sometimes routine is good, right? I like routine as well. Virgo Moon, right? I love that idea of knowing where to be at a certain time, what comes next, etc. But sometimes that becomes very boring and you lose sight of all that could be. So sometimes it's good to shake things up, even if it does make you a little bit unnerved. Shake things up just because you might be putting yourself in the way of something more fun, something more beautiful, something more opportunistic for yourself. So shake up the routine. You can always go back to your routine tomorrow. Susan, hello. It's good to see you. Ursula says, Sally Bowen, no offense taken. We are all on the journey together, right? And just because someone has Leo in the 12th house and a moon in Leo doesn't mean they're going to be narcissistic. Not everybody does that, right? Remember, we're at these varying levels of consciousness awakening. And people who have done more work with themselves, who are more open-minded, it's a possibility that Sally's mom, was it Sally that had said that? I think it was Sally. Maybe your mom had a defined head in Ashna, which means she might be very focused on what she's thinking and very difficult for her to be open-minded and to see things in a different way, where someone else has an open head, an open Ashna, and thoughts, new things are coming in and in and out, like breathing, and they're able to see things in a different way. So there's a lot of moving parts on the chessboard, but I just wanted to give you sort of a rubric to follow in understanding your life purpose, or at least seeing what it is. Maybe understanding comes later, but seeing what it is. Rowena, what if all three is in Aquarius section, sun, moon, and ascendant? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, that means you're focused on a lot of Aquarian ideals. And Aquarius is a fixed sign. If that's your chart, Rowena, then that is where your routine is. That's where this idea of wanting to always do things that are predictable, that are in the same way at the same time. I wonder if you have, well, that's a completely different story, but don't worry so much about that. Maybe step back a bit and just try to take a look into your life from someone else's perspective and see what you can change. There's a lot of beauty in Aquarian energy, right? It's very group oriented. It really does want to elevate the condition for humanity, for the people in their world, in the group that they're associated with. But sometimes that means when you've got all three of them in Aquarius, it might be that sometimes you're aloof, detached in a way, and you're not seeing things as clearly. So you maybe have to work a little harder to find where's your line of destiny, right? Look at where your North Node is. That's where you've got to pull all of that Aquarian humanitarianism and altruism out and place it out there with the North Node. So find your North Node. It looks like a horseshoe upside down. Ursula, line of destiny. Haven't heard that before. It's just a phrase, Ursula. The line of destiny to me is the axis of the North Node and the South Node, where the South Node holds all of the experiences, the gifts, the talents from all of your lifetimes. And it sort of it forms a line pulling you toward the North Node. So we're being pushed even toward that North Node. So I call it the line of destiny. In a gene keys chart, we see it as the sword of individuality that moves from the life purpose down at the bottom up toward light. Now I'm going to have to look at it because now I can't remember what the heck it's called. And this is not the right book. Oh, I moved it up there. This is what happens when you have 50 million notebooks. So the line of destiny in the gene keys, which is called sometimes the sword of individuality, moves us from purpose down at the very bottom of the chart up toward life's work. So it moves straight up through the center of, it forms the part of the activation sequence, part of the Venus sequence, and it takes us through the Pearl and back up through the activation sequence, which is life's work, radiance, evolution, life's work, evolution, radiance, and purpose. So maybe someday we'll do some work on that. Anyway, so I hope that helps. Kathy Vick, hello. JLos, yes, it sounds very interesting. Ursula, reminder, please hit the like button to support Janet. Thank you very much, Ursula. Hit the like button, share, please, with your networks of people, your friends, your family, whomever, and also subscribe if you haven't done so already. And JLo, 29 degrees is a karmic degree for which placement? Or is it in any placement? I have a daughter that has ascendant and midheaven at 29. It is karmic for all placements, right? It's the degree that's karmic, the 29th degree and the 0 degree. So the 29th degree, I always think of as a culmination karma. Have I learned everything that I needed to learn through the sign that the 29th degree is sitting at? So if it's at 29 degrees Leo, like it was in our ascendant for the chart we just looked at, have I learned all the Leo lessons, right? What's sitting in my karmic box over here? What's left undone? You know, someone born with that 29th degree, whatever planet's at the 29th degree, it's going to show you what's been left undone, what they may be super focused on a certain thing. There may be a lot of challenges around a certain area in their life, and you can often trace that back to that 29th degree and what it is that they need to learn. So a 29th degree, if we go back to that chart that we were working with, the chart of the day, if that were a person, the 29 degree Leo rising could be somebody. What is up with you, kitty? It could be somebody that really has to work on bringing out those Leo characteristics and embodying them for themselves. And that's all of that trauma and the drama and the being in the limelight, and, you know, learning to be in the limelight, but in the healthy middle, not as a narcissistic or arrogant person, and being self-expressive and living life on their terms. So they may have issues with that throughout their lives. Okay, so Augustina, yes, hello. Kathy Vick, could you comment on the nodes being square the MC? My nodes are loaded with stelliums. My nodes are loaded with stelliums. Kathy, I'm not sure what that means. The MC is in close orb with Moon and Mars. Just curious, angles don't excite many astrologers. Well, the angles are literally the place where a lot of action happens. So most astrologers are going to look at the angles as an important piece, because they're really about where the dividing lines are of the major energy in a chart. So the ascendant is really bringing you out, you know, your face, your position, your viewpoint, what you look like, your personality. And the midheaven is how you shine to the outer world. So it's up at noon, right? It's your zenith of your life. Where's, you know, your sun shining the brightest, or where's your life shining the brightest? So yeah, if I think what you meant was that your north node is amongst a stellium of other planets, and you don't say what sign that is, but it would mean that you may have a lot of challenges to accommodate that life purpose. A square always implies challenge, right? There's obstacles to overcome. And the MC is in close orb with Moon and Mars. Moon and Mars, right? Anytime you've got Moon and Mars together, you're going to have, depending again on the sign, you're going to have emotional flare-ups. You're going to have that Mars that is likely going to react. And one of the lessons that you may have to learn is how to respond in your life, how to be response able as opposed to reactive. So we'd have to look at a lot of other things in that, Kathy. Mimi, so grateful to have a Virgo moon to balance my Leo sun. Indeed. Joy Ann, Aquarius sun and Uranus on the ascendant. What's routine? Exactly. Deborah Johnson, my sun in Leo first house, and my moon is in Scorpio in the 5th house. So you are My sun in Leo in the first house, individuality, moon in Scorpio, so transcendence, right? Transformation, maybe transforming into more playfulness, more creative expression. Um, hmm. So is Leo also your rising sign then, Deborah? I don't remember off the top of my head. Amy, I once heard that Leo is the sign that could never please their own mother. Not sure if this is always true, but it was an interesting thought that made sense for the Leo mom in my life. That is interesting. We could, the best way to do that would be to look at how your mom and your chart crossed. So if we did a synastry or a comparison, a relationship chart, we could see that maybe there's some placements of other planets that would trigger that, because a Leo mom could also be the fun, loving, self-expressive, creative, artsy mom that, you can imagine a Virgo child with a Leo mom and how that might be, a Leo not necessarily into routines, and Virgo really needing that routine, that steady Eddie sort of rules and routine, knowing what to expect. With Leo, there's often that unexpectedness that takes place, which is part of who they are here to be. So lots of great questions. Ursula, line of destiny equals the head and the tail of the dragon. You could look at it that way, indeed. And thank you very much, Ursula. Amanda, Rueda. Oh, obstacles galore, Kathy says. Yes, that's that. Those squares, they'll create challenges. But here's the good news about that, Kathy Vick. You have all the skills you need to overcome the challenges. Because if you've got obstacles, if you've got squares in your chart, you also have somewhere the tools, likely through the trines or the sextiles, that give you the tools that you need in order to work with those obstacles. You just need to find those tools. And yeah, that will help you too, Kathy. Amanda J, interesting, as my moon is in Leo in the 4th house. I have a difficult relationship with my mom. She had a difficult relationship with her mom. And difficult how? I think mothers and daughters, I think, they have those issues, right? There's sometimes, yeah. I would want to look at those charts together and see what we're looking at. Where you can often see those the best. By the way, mother-daughter relationships or family dynamics is through human design, and what channels what draws you together. So what in your mother's chart is hanging that you complete because you would have been drawn together for that, to learn those lessons and what have you. So often in human design, what we see is that the parents' charts with the kids have the challenges, where the grandparents have the ease, right? So it's sort of the grandparents and the children, of their children that have the best affinity, have the best relationships, and the parent and the child end up with the crankiness, right? There's that, not always, but there's sometimes that feeling that there's more affinity to the grandparent. And anyway, Joy Ann, I just asked my Leo child if she feels I am never impressed with her. She says cheekily that she doesn't ever feel like trying to impress me. Oh, that's spoken like a true Leo. And mine says the same, Joy Ann. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, you guys see, you're learning so much, right? About how you can be in relationship with your own kids. I've done my job. Let's talk about the minor aspects for the day that might be causing a little bit of adjustment need, an attitude adjustment, perhaps. Today, the sun is in 2 inconjuncts, one right after the other, first with Jupiter and then with Neptune. And an inconjunct is a 150-degree relationship or angle between the planets. It is often a place where there needs to be an adjustment, a sacrifice of something in order to best utilize the energy between the 2 planets. So today, the sun in Jupiter, Jupiter is about our optimism. It is about our goals, the way that we want to be generous and to be optimistic and to, grow and expand, to be more conscious. we may have to also adjust plans there, right? What is it that you thought you were going to do? I thought I was going to be this, big broadcaster on Oneness Talk Radio. That didn't work. And so now I have to adjust my plans, right? Solve a dilemma. That is also, there may be, that word keeps coming up in the astrological landscape of the day. Dilemma, right? Where's the dilemma that you need to solve in your life? Remember, we're at the crisis of consciousness. There is that some inner shift that has to take place. And with the sun in conjunct to Jupiter and Neptune, we have the opportunity then to really adopt maybe a more spiritual view, a higher perspective, right? Jump to the top of the tree, and what do you see, right? That's a different perspective than down on the ground looking up. So what can we see if we're up high and looking back in, as opposed to just down here and looking up, right? It changes the view. We can feel like we're not sure what direction to go, what to do, who to do that with, where in our life do I need to change? Is that the right change, or is that not the right change? And, that can forever be the self-talk in your mind that just goes round and round and around. We might be misled. We might be misleading ourselves. We might feel that we are misreading the signs. I felt like that certainly yesterday when I was looking back over my decision to join in with Oneness. I was going, did I misread something? Did I misread the signs, right? The symbols, my human design, did I misread something in all of that? And then what do we have to do in order to let go and to move ahead, right? What did I need to do in that case? How was that dilemma going to be solved? And for me, it would be really about just letting it all go, right? Making the choice to just go, okay, I made a mistake. And I made a mistake, but I've learned something from that mistake, right? I learned something huge. And then the next question you could be asking yourself from these transits here would be, what would be fulfilling for me? What would make me, what would trigger joy in me and that feeling of fulfillment? And what's it going to take to get me over there, right? What's it going to take to get me into that position? And we can feel, like I said, not sure what direction that we want to go. So maybe it's just adjusting the plan to be maybe quiet for the moment. Maybe instead of, having all of these race driving sort of energies to push you forward, you just just stop the energy, just stop the wheels, right? It's like when you're lost, you could keep driving and driving around and around in circles, but sometimes it's better for you just to stop, maybe pull over to the side first, look at your map or your GPS and see where it is that you got off track, and take a moment, right? Sometimes it's a moment, sometimes it's a day. No one's saying that you have to give up your dreams. No one's saying that you have to give up what you thought your life path was, but just rearrange it a bit. Take a look and see, maybe I missed the sign back there. Or I misread the sign. I thought it said turn left and I turned right instead. Right? This is the time for that little bit of course correction. Remember, Jupiter's in Capricorn. So it is very appreciative of a plan, but plans need to be mobile a bit. They need to be able to be adjustable and versatile and adaptable, right? Conditions change, and we have to be able to be adaptable. With going into January of 2020, we certainly didn't expect a major pandemic to be taking out lives and livelihoods and changing the face of our planet. If you had asked me in January if I thought I was going to have to wear a mask every time I went out, I would have said, "Are you crazy?" But here it is, right? So we have to adapt. We have to come to a new stability. And days like today with the sun in particular, which is our full ego selves, right? What part of your ego is not willing to let go, is holding on to the past or holding on to something that's no longer working. So relinquishing the old and letting go. Neptune, of course, is in Pisces, a sign it rules. So it has a lot of power right now as well to guide us to the more spiritual principles, right? Looking at our beliefs, really looking at what is it that we're not seeing clearly, having to maybe put stronger glasses on, maybe getting out a magnifying glass and looking at your life in a different way. What needs more eyes on, devotion to, check it out and see what it is that you need to do or where you need to go. Okay, now if we look at the Pleiadian-Earth energy of the day, it is 12 devoting. This is Auk in the Mayan calendar, or dog. It is about understanding, loyalty. So the two, I put the two together, right? 12 is understanding. That is the universal energy of the day. And devoting energy is, what are you loyal to? What do you hold steadfastly in your world? And today would be a day then to see new possibilities, new connections, and new ways to connect all of the parts. We are at the 12th day of the week of catalyzing. So what now are we understanding about what the path has brought us during these previous 11 days, understanding all that has come to you in the previous 11 days and all of the things that are leading you into a shift of some sort or into the next level of your evolution. What was catalyzed, triggered, or begun within you back 11 days ago in preparation of tomorrow's energy, which is Ascension Day. And we're going into the void tomorrow. Interesting, we have a void, of course, moon tomorrow too. Where are we going within to see the next step in our evolution? So today's about understanding, have you devoted yourself to the wrong thing, to the wrong person? Or if having devoted yourself and your energy to something, what else is there? What comes next, right? What's the next level? Okay, now let's take a look. I managed to talk a lot this morning for someone who said she didn't have anything to talk about. Let's look at the sun in human design this week. The sun is at the gate 4, and the gate 4 is, it's such a funny gate because it's on the ajna, the second center down, and it's leading up to the gate 63 in the head center. And the gate 63 is a gate of doubt, right? Self-doubt. And self-doubt is the negative expression of it, where being discriminating or discerning of what's true and false is what the real gift is for the 63. The 4 is this mental pressure to find answers to questions. Sometimes they're not even your own questions, right? Or someone might ask you, how are you going to do that? And you just spout off an answer. There's your gate 4 working, right? We don't know if that's the right answer or not. We just say that's an answer. So it really calls for more understanding. Where is the mind coming from? And how do I use the energy of the 4th gate for my benefit? And it's interesting, don't you think, that the 4 understanding, and understanding is the day we're at today in our Pleiadian-Earth energy. I always look at those things and think, there's a reason why this is coming up today. So the gate 4 in the shadow is intolerance. In the gift, it is understanding, and in its highest, it is forgiveness. And it says, true understanding lies outside the domain of the mind. Here's the wisdom story. I was born into this world with the, oh, here's the card. I didn't even show you the card. Here's the beautiful face associated with the card. There's just something really cute about her, isn't there? Okay, that's our card. It says, I was born into this world with the blessing and curse of a sharp mind. You might not know this looking at me now, but when I was young, I was always working so hard to understand everything, always digging up reasons for why I felt the way I felt and why I should trust and act on my emotions, no matter how fearful, angry, or prejudiced they were. My mind was constantly chewing, explaining, justifying, and nitpicking. I became increasingly intolerant of people whose understanding seemed simple or whose worldviews were different from my own. Sometimes the arguments and counter-arguments in my mind became so exhausting that the energy drained completely out of my body. During those times, beneath my seeming apathy, lived a profound insecurity. The truth was that I felt horribly anxious when I couldn't find logical answers to my questions. But that was at a time when thinking ruled my life. That was when I still believed that my mind was capable of fulfilling my desires, relieving my fears, and bringing me the peace and security I yearned for. It wasn't until I fully embraced life's uncertainty that I stopped needing to defend my viewpoint. That's when I discovered that true understanding had nothing to do with intellectual knowledge, but instead was meant to infuse the whole body and open the heart. Now, I no longer get stuck on one side of an issue or spend precious energy defending my point of view. I enjoy seeing every situation from all sides. I joyfully use the brilliance of my mind to help others reach beyond the limitations of their biases and intolerances and help them see a bigger picture. In the end, the true purpose of the mind is to bring forgiveness to the heart. Ooh, that's interesting. My gift to you: when I look at you and I watch you struggling to figure out your life from your opinions or defend your feelings, I hold you with love and patience. I am here to invite you to use your beautiful mind to do what it's best at. Let it play, research, communicate, and serve this world of ours. Let it build bridges and compassion and help people learn how to release their biases and intolerances so that we can all see and celebrate the bigger picture. I know and trust that at some point your hardworking mind will exhaust itself and you will break free into a new way of being where true understanding fills your belly and emanates from your heart. Excuse me. For now, I ask that you begin by forgiving yourself. Soon, you will no longer doubt that you and the whole wide world are so much more worthy and wonderful than what your busy mind could ever overcomplicate or could ever comprehend. Questions for contemplation. Do you tend to overthink and nitpick or become paralyzed with indecision? Are there certain things, situations, and people you feel you just have to understand or you can't relax? In what situations do you find yourself intolerant of others? Can you forgive yourself and others for closing your heart? Think of a time when you experienced true understanding or forgiveness. How can you tell when you are thinking with your heart? Reflect upon these questions in your journal. Good questions, right? Um, Revolution is our other darling of the day. This is where the earth is, and the earth and sun, the earth challenges is where there are challenges for our evolution toward the purpose of the sun. So where we have the need for understanding in this particular week, the earth at revolution is creating the pathway for that to happen, but we're often challenged by that. Look at her beautiful face. Looks like she has a keyhole in her forehead, right? The key to her. And revolution is the name of the game here. So the earth is at revolution. In the shadow, it is reaction. Woo, we've learned about that. The gift is revolution, and the siddhi is rebirth. And it says, as long as you can see your own people as good and others as evil, you remain a prisoner of the 49th shadow. Can I read this to the Congress of the USA, please? I was born a passionate, sensitive idealist. Though my family was relatively liberal, my parents were not passionate people. They'd ignore anything for the sake of harmony, which brought out the hypocrisy detector in me. My mother identified as a feminist, but still made herself small, and my father let her. My parents considered themselves open-minded, but I saw the look on their faces when I brought home romantic partners of a different race, ethnicity, or gender than expected. Our neighborhood prided itself on its progressive politics, but it also subtly discouraged certain people from moving in, rationalized wars, and dehumanized others, in quotes. It was the inertness and denial that angered me most. Beneath the anger was hurt. How could they not see what I saw or feel what I felt? When I confronted my parents and they refused to own their biases, we'd have huge fights. I went off to college. My mind spun and my heart broke as I learned about the plight of so many oppressed peoples. I seethed when I witnessed any kind of systemic marginalization or institutional oppression. For years, I hung out only with like-minded activists and judged my parents and most people for not getting it. The more staunchly I fought for peace, the more my personal life was rife with conflict. If I detected a drop of racist blood in my romantic partners, I'd drop them. It wasn't until my best friend divorced me, calling me the most reactionary person she'd ever met, that I woke up. Losing her was devastating, but also a gift. All this time, as I divided up the world into good and ignorant and rejected people left and right, I was desperately trying to avoid being rejected. My fear of rejection had caused me to shut out so many people just because their worldview was different than mine. It took time to move through the layers of humiliation, guilt, and regret. Only when I was able to forgive myself could I begin to repair my personal relationships. Finally, I understood in my heart just how deep our human tendency is to split the world into black and white, us and them. This realization released a creativity in me I never knew was there. Now, instead of rejecting the old world, I channel all of my love and energy into envisioning and co-creating a new one. My approach to the peace movement has become delightfully peaceful. My gift to you. Welcome to the peaceful revolution. If you long to bring harmony to your community, begin by being patient and gentle and compassionate with yourself. Give your feelings time, space, and plenty of creative outlets, but do not judge them. For when you do, you create an internal pressure that intensifies the feelings and the impulse to act them out. Rejecting yourself only makes it more difficult. Well, okay, fine. Close. That was weird. But do not judge them, for when you do, you create an internal pressure that intensifies the feelings and the impulse to act them out. Rejecting yourself only makes it more difficult to see objectively, soften the heart, understand the others, and see possibilities for resolution. If you must rebel, then rebel against your inner impulse to attack anyone. When you resist the urge to react based on your emotions or to be violent towards yourself, you are doing your part to end violence in the world. Be revolutionary, not reactionary. We have been saying that on this show for a very long time. Questions for contemplation. Do you prioritize harmony over aliveness, depth, and honesty? Do you often push people away before they come too close? Do you reject people before they have the chance to reject you? The next time you feel emotionally triggered and are tempted to react, lash out, or reject someone, ask yourself, am I feeling rejected? Am I afraid of being rejected? What is the most loving, revolutionary act you can do today? I love it. So here's our girls, revolution and understanding, right? R2, the sun and the earth. Now, if you want more, if you want to study more about those particular gene keys, you can get the Gene Keys book. You can get it in Kindle or you can get it, the hardback. Most of you have seen my copy of the Gene Keys. It's very thick, right? And yours may look different than mine because I've had mine for a long time. And if you go in and you read the 4th gene key and the 49th gene keys, you'll get a deeper view from his point of view of what those energies are all about. It's fascinating to read that and to contemplate how that is showing up in your own life. And another, just side comment here, remember, we all have all of the human design. So even though you do not have maybe 49 or 4 colored in today or this week, suddenly they are, right? They're triggered in some way in your chart. So be willing to look deeper, take your Gene Keys book and study it, and see what more information you can gain from looking at the 49 and the 4. The 49 where the earth is, the 4 where the sun is. All right, guys, that is it for me today. I'm going to take one last look here and see if there were any questions that I missed. Yeah, those are powerful stories. I really love the way Rosie wrote those in there. And okay, I don't see any other questions. Good. So for everyone, take care. Have a great day. And I will see you all tomorrow morning. Bye for now. Thanks for joining me.